there guys, this is me, Malorian, and this is actually going to be a conversion video. So, I used to do conversions a lot back when I played 40k. Man, did I love making orc tanks and stuff like that. Then when I played fantasy, getting to convert up different bosses and leaders and stuff like that. But in War Machine, I don't really get a chance to do that very much. The models you get from War Machine aren't really designed to be very easy to convert. There's typically only one way you can put them together. There's not a lot of different kits you can bash together. And also, I think the conversion rules are a little bit more strict. So I've basically just played everything out of the box, and that's that. Well, a while ago, I got my brother Terminus, and I thought, hey, you know, why not? Terminus is somebody who's different, and it's somebody that's a different play style. He's really big into cricks. You'll love him. Well, turns out he hated Terminus, specifically just because of the way he looked. The weird kind of twisted around head, the weird twisted around arm. The arms have like little puffy sleeves on them, and you can't see them here, but the wings are kind of like big and weird and ugly. So he just really wasn't a fan of the model, so that no matter what happened with the rules, he was not going to play it. So I felt kind of bad for that, plus I kind of felt like converting, so I thought, hey, let's take this on. So he gave me the model, I broke it apart. You can see here where there's a few parts where he actually pinned it, so I'm going to need to kind of pull those pins out. But yeah, I have some ideas of what we're going to do with this guy. So looking at the challenges of the conversion, probably these two areas will be the biggest issue. The first one is the arms. Now, the way that the arms are set up is that it has a cool like kind of shoulder blade thing, and then after that there's the arm. Now, if you look where the model where it's coming from, I can't just really find something else to throw in there. I mean, I could, but it'd be a little bit difficult. I did a lot of research, saw that people did some conversions with slayers and stuff like that. But for my part here, I kind of like these shoulder pads. Plus, Privateer Press has a rule that at least 50% of the model has to be the original one. So I want to keep as much as the original model as possible. And to be honest, we're going to really be pushing that 50%. And really, how do you even calculate that anyway? So I'm just going to try and keep as much of the stuff as I can. And then hopefully that'll get past any TO who's really questioning it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those arms there, and I'm going to cut it off. So right there at the break between like that shoulder pad and the puffy sleeve, I'm going to have to take my little saw and cut through that. Now the head's a whole different issue. Now as you can see there, it's not just the head for that bit. There's like this whole like armor around the neck, and then there's weird like rib cage things, and that's going to be very difficult. First of all, if I just decide to include none of that, if you look on the original model, you can see that the actual body only has like a little nub to put stuff in. So normally doing a head swap is really, really easy, but here it's not going to be because there's no neck to work with. So I'm going to have to kind of deal with that. Plus, if I look at what he has in that piece there, if I want to kind of like cut out the head from the rest of the armor, that's going to be really difficult. So looking at this, I kind of looked at it for a while and I decided, you know what, that extra armored ribcage and stuff, the extra armor, isn't really doing a lot for the model. So I'm just going to remove that piece completely. I did give it a thought that maybe I cut out those like armored ribs, I guess they are, and glue those on. But looking again at the model, I think it'd not really be necessary, and sometimes adding those extra details, especially when it's being cut off from something else, really looks out of place. So again, I decided just to take that piece completely out of the conversion. The next part is the wings. Now, my brother had originally thought of maybe doing the conversion himself. He picked up these wings here from Games Workshop. They're the typical dragon wings that he used for years and years and years, and they are very awesome wings. To be fair, you know, when we were doing these conversions back in 40k and fantasy, we used these wings all the time. But the problem with them is twofold. One, they're a little bit too big, and two, they're lizard wings. If you look at it, there's some scales and stuff, and so it doesn't really fit the theme. Now, the theme here being undead and stuff, you know, you kind of want that, and lizard never really works into it. I mean, I guess if I was to make it like, give it actually like a dragon head and like a dragon neck and dragon arms, I could make it work. But again, dragon for cricks isn't really that big of a thing. If it was for Legion, I can make that work. But because it's for cricks, I had to find some other wings. Now, looking at different places for wings, Games Workshop have a lot of other versions. They're also kind of very expensive. They had something called the Morghast. Its wings look awesome. They have a zombie dragon, stuff like that. But what I decided to go with is actually these here. I got them secondhand from a buddy of mine who had made a plastic demon prince. And these wings here are also pretty nice because they're a little bit smaller and they're not lizard themed. They're more like bat themed. And so I can kind of more go with that. Now, the connection's going to be really weird for connecting it to the model because currently it's like these two little stubs that are in the back of Terminus and they're like down by his hips, and I really want these to be kind of up more where wings normally go, but yeah, I feel that this is giving the right piece for it. Now for the head, I took this here. Now this is from a newer, well, newish GW kit, and this one here allows you to make like the zombie dragon, the newer version of the zombie dragon, not the old metal one. And, you know, this one here is from the little big bat monster, and I think it's going to work well, because if you look at it, it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit more scary. You know, you could go in with the plastic head from that plastic demon prince, but it's too small. This will be a little bit larger. The bottom jaw here is kind of like all bone, it's undead. So again, the undead part will go well with the theme, and then plus since we're adding like this bat motif, the wings will make more sense as well. So here's a big part of the sprue with the leftover bits I had to work with. Some of the main things that I really wanted to go with here is going to be with that loincloth. Again, it's not a very big conversion and not really needed, but again, adding little details like that, like a more detailed loincloth, can sometimes make a big difference and really make things kind of, you know, pop out from a regular model. Now, I also love these two arms. The two arms here, you know, the swords themselves look pretty awesome and I'd love to use them. But again, trying to keep as much of the original model there so that no TO is going to be like, oh, you can't do that. We are going to be cutting off these cool blades and putting in Terminus's old blade. And so I got this home and I was really excited to go on with this until it was my 6-year-old son who realized, Dad, you can't use this. Oh, why can't I? Oh, those two arms are both right-handed. I can't believe I didn't realize this. So that's something else that we're going to have to deal with, and I was going to get some more parts. So first off, with these arms, I took each one in my little saw, and I cut off the arms from the puffy part from the shoulder blade. I put on that little, I glued together the model here. So actually another thing I should talk about here is I also was wondering about making them flying. This is the normal glue down pose for the legs and the body, but I also was wondering if I got a larger flying base, I could actually just make him flying. But when I looked at it, it's going to be a very heavy model, and heavy models, well, are top heavy when you're making them flying, and I didn't want him falling over and breaking. So I decided to pose him on the ground. Here he is with a simple loincloth. Again, very, very simple, but just makes him immediately different, especially when, for the most part, all of our conversions will be on the top half of the model. This makes him a little bit different on the bottom as well. So next part, I put on those shoulder blades. You can see now that if I would have gone with some other shoulder blades, it might have taken away from that Terminus look. And now here, hopefully between the legs and the body and the shoulder pads, anyone looking at this should know, like, okay, this is Terminus. This is at least 50% this model. Because really, this is all I'm keeping from the original Terminus model, plus the blade. Alright, so now we're going to start dealing with the sword. So the first thing I had to do is take one of these arms, and because, again, it's not like a ball joint going in here into the Terminus shoulder pad, I had to take my little saw and cut through the arm to make it line up. And same thing, I got another arm here, you can see, so I actually have a left-handed arm, and I had to cut through that one, so it actually lined up. And then I had to deal with the sword. So at first I want to keep this entire blade except for the little parts of the bottom. So I basically cut it off from the actual, shaft part of the sword. Also cut off these weird two little guards because there will be guards on the new sword that I like better. And then of course I had to cut off the blade from this sword. And then I lined it up. And when I lined it up, I really didn't like the look of it. Again, I really had hoped I could kind of keep as much of this blade as possible, but it's just not going to work. I mean, looking at this here, it's it's just not going, guys. It is not going to look right. So what I'm going to have to do is, because I don't want to be destroying the hilt as much as possible, you know, you always want to keep that as smooth and looking nice as possible, I'm just going to remove the top blade part off. So that's what I did. I cut through the top blade and then reattach this. And this is looking a lot better. This is more like a little quick mock-up. I'll have to do a little more, you know, positioning and cleaning up to make it look a lot nicer. But yeah, this looks now like a more regular sword. Doesn't look too crazy. But again, somebody looking at the blade will be like, oh, that's Terminus's blade. Which again, if you're ever worrying about a TO saying, hey, you can't do that, should make them happy. So after that, I put the arms on. The arms fit very well with the shoulder pads here, and you can kind of see how this is coming together and how he's looking a lot more beefy than the original model, right? The original model is like, I got these little withered arms, and, you know, he doesn't really feel like a monster in combat, where now, when you start seeing this together, it's like, okay, I can see this guy coming in and really wrecking things. So the next thing I had to deal with was a neck. Now, as I said, the neck on there was non-existent, and so one of the things I did is went back to Games Workshop. I had an old Sphinx model, and I cut off the tail. And this part here, blurry picture, but the main thing I want you to look at is the back part there, where it's like the vertebrae with the spikes. I figured that was going to work out very well, just to be something that's like the undead, and short enough that's going to work in that area. So after I attached it, it looked like this. Again, from this angle, you can't really see the neck, but the neck was a little bit too long. I took 3 segments of the vertebrae, and it seemed like the head was too far from the body, and it was kind of looking down, and so I had to go back and deal with that neck again. Another part while I was dealing with that is I had to deal with the back here. And again, the way that these are supposed to attach were by like the bottom of the body, which is ridiculous. It should be at the top, but the way that it works here with these kind of like chimneys coming out and the big shoulder pads is that there is not a lot of room to work with. So I really tried finding a way to make the wings work. I'm going to have to cut them down. As you can already see, the wing at the bottom there, where I already cut it. But even that won't be enough. I'm going to have to green stuff a base to go onto there for the wings to attach to. Plus, if you look at the bottom, there's like a little scabbard area there where it was supposed to be attached, and now it's just kind of flat with a ball. So that's another very easy green stuff thing to do, where I'll just put some in there. And because there's already kind of like this weird chainmail stuff kind of going to it, chainmail is pretty easy to do with the green stuff, and we'll just take care of it that way. So after the green stuff, it looks more like this. So, okay guys, when you look at this, it looks kind of ugly, right? Like I just chewed up some gum, pushed it on there, and you're done. But this is kind of like a step before, just trying to show it. So the chainmail bit at the bottom, that's actually very easy, where you just kind of like smear it on, and then you can just take a toothpick, or if you have other molding tools like I do, you just put them in there and you make all the holes for the chainmail. Now, if it was in a more prominent spot, you can take this a spot further, because doing the dots like this, if somebody glances over it, they'll be like, okay, yeah, that's chainmail, move on. But if it was on the front, what you do for like another step for this is you would take more of a flat tool. I mean, you could use a butter knife if you don't have regular stuff, but what you do is, again, work from the top down and kind of make those ringlets more apparent, and try and do that going down. Again, because this is in the back and down the model, I don't think there'll be a big focus. And then I really want to show here the green stuff at the top, where it's going to be trying to just be a spot where I can attach these wings. I'm going to have to do more work where I got to kind of smooth it out and stuff like this, but in a body that's more undead, I want this to be like, okay, he has a little bit of organic flesh still available here. This is where like he has his back muscles. There's not a lot of room to actually get any definitions for muscles, and I just really want to keep this as small as possible, so I have something to attach the wings to that won't really look out of place. So there'll be a lot of smoothing here to kind of make things work, repositioning the wings. You can also see that to make the wings a little bit more stable, I'm going to be gluing them at the bottom as well. So there'll be 2 connection points to make these wings a little bit more sturdy. But yeah, that's going to be how I'm going to be attaching these wings. And so after that's done, it looks more like this. I've now shortened the neck. In fact, I've gone and have made like a green stuff neck instead, because after I was dealing with that little vertebrae part, it really wasn't coming together, and so I ditched it, went for the green stuff version, and this is more what it looks like with all the pieces together. One of the things you always have to keep in mind when you do a conversion is that this will be the ugly step, because right now we're going to have a mix of, like, we got the metal, we have plastic, we have prime plastic, painted plastic, and so what you do is you just go here and prime it. And once you prime it, all of a sudden it comes a lot more together, right? You don't really see the different parts now. Now it's like, okay, this is like a big undead bat type monster, right? It looks a lot more something, the proportions are a little bit more right, with the arms to the body, to the head, to the wings. The legs look smaller, but because they are skeletons, it's a little bit more fitting with the Crix theme. And either way, it's something here where somebody who's coming in and just hates the Terminus model, this is an alternate version. I'm not saying this is an awesome conversion and like, everybody, this is the way to do Terminus. No, this is something that, if nothing else, you can just say looks better than the original, at least for the preferences that me and my brother have. So there you go, guys. This is the conversion I did. My brother will be coming in and probably using it for the next War Machine Wednesday, so I don't know if he'll quickly throw any paint on it or whatever, but yeah, we'll get to see this guy in action probably. And yeah, post down below what you thought of the conversion, if you thought if I should have done something differently, any comments on any conversions you've made, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye. Hey there, if you liked watching this video, please go down and give it a like down below you here. And if you have any concerns or questions or comments, please put those in the comment section as well. You know, the best way for me to give you what you want to see is if you tell me what you like seeing and what you don't like seeing. So otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.